Welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to talk a bit about the concept that if a woman accuses a man of something, it must be true, and they can see to it that you lose your job, your education, or worse. First, this craziness has to start by excusing women from any responsibility at all. Notice the response anti-feminist vlogger Pearl gets from a feminist.
Women rarely file police reports.
Yeah,
And
because
usually-
it's traumatizing.
I'm sure it is. But exactly how does that excuse them? I'm pretty sure that being accused of sexual assault, etc., is pretty traumatizing to a man, too. But he isn't going to get a pass as a result. Pearl continues with the story of a woman she interviewed who made accusations against a man.
Usually I would think that women were telling the truth. Like when they would tell me someone abused them, someone assaulted them. The problem is, if you ask a couple questions, a lot of times their story falls apart. So there was a woman who said she had an abusive ex-boyfriend. She comes on my show and I asked her a couple questions. I said, okay, did you file a police report? She said, no. I said, okay. Comes to find out, she said that he shoved her down the stairs. That was her story. So I asked her, I said, okay, how did this come up? Like, how did this situation happen? And it turns out she was actually trespassing. So she wasn't supposed to be in his house, and he kept asking her to leave and she wouldn't leave. She had a romantic relationship with this guy and she was trying to fight with him in front of his kid. He didn't want to fight in front of the kid. He ends up pushing her out, not trying to push her down the stairs, but he's trying to get her to leave. Does that make sense? And she claims abuse. I think that's a little bit overblown. Would you agree with that in that specific story?
Then see how the guest tries to dodge the point.
So that is anecdotal evidence.
No, I know, that's totally fine.
When
That's
we're
totally fine. But
we're-
I'm saying in good faith, could you agree with me?
I will agree with the premise that these are complex issues that should be looked at holistically.
Totally.
As you'll see, as this video progresses, the response is worse than you may think.
When I bring up believing women, I'm ultimately saying we should believe anecdotal evidence. We should believe women's account of what they are experiencing, especially when these stories are corroborated on a population level. And then in counter, you give me anecdotal evidence.
See what I mean? The guests just think it's fine if a woman is only giving an anecdotal story. But there is something wrong if it comes from a man defending himself. That is a heck of a double standard. She does refer to stories being corroborated on a population level. But what the heck is that? Sounds like it is just saying a lot of men assault women, and so all men are to be assumed guilty. That seems like a totalitarian judicial system. We don't have group guilt. Individuals are guilty or not. But Pearl tries again to get her to give a direct response to the example she gave, as if, just for the sake of argument, we assume it is an accurate description.
But
I'm asking you, in that case, do you agree with me that that was overblown?
No,
For her to- okay.
because I don't know the details of the case. It's a he said, she said.
I know, but can we in good faith just agree that I'm telling you the truth?
I agree that you're telling me the truth, but not that you've been told the entire truth.
Again, there is a lot that is very bad in her responses you may have missed, so let's go through them. First, she tries to write it off as a he said, she said. Yet she wants us to believe women when it is still a he said, she said. As for the details of the case, Pearl gave the details. But the most interesting comment is when the guest says she will not agree that Pearl has been told the entire truth. You may want to go back to the part where Pearl describes the events. If you do, you'll notice that Pearl is basing it on an interview she had with the woman in question. In other words, in the course of that interview, the woman apparently revealed she was trespassing on the man's property and that he pushed her to get her out. So, not a he said, she said at all. It was all she said, as she gradually admitted to more detail. It seems we are to believe all women, but not if they give away information that incriminates the woman. Pearl continues to try to get a straight answer to her question.
But assuming those facts are correct, would you agree that's overblown?
Assuming those facts that you gave me are correct, yes, in that one particular instance, sure.
Totally fine.
Finally, but that should have been simple enough to say from the start. These women just try so hard to avoid even admitting the possibility that a woman may be at fault. Pearl talks more about what women reveal.
Normally, when I would ask women to give me more details about their story, there was something they left out that, like, many times women would say he hit me, but she hit him first, and they would leave that out.
Seems important to me, but the guest resumes ossucating.
And so I think ultimately we end up with my conclusion, which is we should look at each of these cases holistically and with nuance and recognize that these are complex issues that just can't be given a black and white solution or scenario.
Wow! Holistically, with nuance and understanding the complex issues so it isn't a black and white solution. Sounds good, but it is also pretty much the opposite of the whole concept of just believing what women say and thinking anecdotal evidence is fine for women, but not for men. Pearl attempts to point out that it is important not to presume guilt.
Well, my point is we have to go based on the evidence, and the only way we can go on evidence is in criminal court.
I disagree with that. Because, as I've said, it is incredibly traumatizing and taxing to go through the criminal process. So I think, unfortunately, we are left to anecdotal evidence when it comes to a lot of these cases.
Right, but how do you know if somebody is lying?
You don't.
Oh my, we are back to women being traumatized, as if that makes it okay to assume their claims are legitimate. And heaven forbid if the process is taxing, don't even worry that it is taxing for the man who is accused. And it is noteworthy that when someone asks you how you know if someone is lying, the guest flat out says, "You don't." Let that sink in, because she is still all about punishing men as if women don't lie. Pearl pretty much points this out.
You want to be able to accuse men of anything, and we just have to believe that women, and the men just have to take it.
So,
and that's how so many men get falsely accused on college campuses and in the workplace.
If you've watched my other videos, you might immediately be suspicious of the response Pearl got.
do you know the statistics of when they've analyzed these issues and when they've analyzed these claims, how many turn out to be false? Around 2 to 8%. The highest that I can find is 8%.
Do you see the problems? First, who is doing these investigations? How is a 2 to 8% statistic determined? You see, as even this woman has pointed out, it is hard to actually prove most of these cases. So what are they actually measuring? The only factual basis would be those cases which are proven to be true or false. Most never even go to court. Thus, there is no examination of the proof one way or the other. And it should also be obvious that only the strongest cases would make it that far. Or maybe they are counting cases where non-criminal charges are made, and the legal system goes with the anecdotal claims of women rather than, actual evidence. As such, these statistics would be highly biased from the start and meaningless. Pearl follows up with this question.
And how did they come to that conclusion?
Through both, if you're not going to look at criminal evidence, a lot of times they'll corroborate it with friends and family. They'll corroborate it with instances at the workplace, things like that.
That's what I figured. No solid evidence. And corroborate it with friends and family? No bias there. Yes, that is sarcasm. The stuff about the workplace may be valid. That is, if a lot of different women report the same problem with the same person. But friends and family mean very little when it comes to corroboration. Back to Pearl.
The majority of cases that are brought to police are not prosecuted, meaning that they don't have the evidence to prosecute them.
Yeah, because it's incredibly hard unless you have a video camera in every room of your house.
True, but it's also true a lot of accusers, once they risk getting in legal trouble themselves, will stop short of pressing charges. It's unfortunate that it is hard to make a case about abuse, but just assuming men are guilty is not a valid solution. Continuing.
I highly doubt that this survey got better evidence than the police.
So that's actually incorrect because you're comparing things like civil and criminal instances, right? Because something where a man is going to lose his position at a job or where he's going to whatever it may be, that's different from a criminal accusation. And the bar for criminal accusation is so much higher.
Nope, wrong. Almost by definition, the evidence needs to be better for a criminal case. So there would have to be better evidence, at least on average, for such a case to even proceed. The civil cases are resorted to because there isn't much evidence. I find it scary that this woman treats a civil case, where the man may lose his job, etc., as if it isn't a big deal.
Don't you think that the bar should be high to accuse someone of a crime that's that serious?
Criminally.
You don't think so civilly too?
No.
Hey, it's only a man, and his ability to make a good living or get his education, etc., isn't nearly as important as just believing women. How dare you expect fairness?
Don't we want to be sure that the person is guilty?
Well, like you say, I live in the real world, and it's just not realistic to have that amount of evidence when a lot of times abuse happens behind closed doors.
Translated, that means we don't need any evidence. Just believe the women. I've always been aware of men taking advantage of women, and when it came to abuse, how proof was hard to come by. I've mentioned I was a band director, and I once had an abusive boyfriend of one of my students arrested when he made the mistake of abusing her on school property. But it's also true that women can be abusive, taking advantage of the idea that they can hit all they want, but the guy can't fight back. Or even if she agrees to sex, if the guy doesn't give her the attention afterwards that she wants, she accuses him of sexual assault. And even though there are text messages back and forth proving it was consensual, the woman will still win. The world is not fair, but punishing the innocent is no solution. Thanks for watching, and don't let the trolls stop you from speaking out.